We are here today with David Kappos, who is running the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. David Kappos, can you tell us the importance of efficiency in the patent system to the global economy?
Okay, well, thanks, Caitlin. It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be speaking with you here this morning. So you talk about efficiency in the global patent system, and these days that really comes down to dealing with enormous backlogs. Backlogs of patent applications at many major offices have become extreme, to say the least. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office that I represent has backlog of about and actually over 700,000 unexamined patent applications. And if you add the backlogs up at the other major patent offices and all the other patent offices around the world, you get into numbers in the, in the multiple millions. Each one of those unexamined patent applications is innovation not entering the marketplace, healthcare solutions not being delivered, jobs not being created, an opportunity that is foregone, sometimes lost altogether. And so a major imperative becomes doing a much better job at dealing with patent applications, examining them in a high quality but time effective time period. And that comes down to work sharing between patent offices all over the world. And so what is work sharing? Well, we're here in Geneva, which is the home of WIPO, and WIPO is the keeper of the Patent Cooperation Treaty, right? I refer to that as the granddaddy of all patent work-sharing vehicles, and that's a vehicle that we're heavily invested in and are major supporters of at the USPTO, and a very important work-sharing vehicle. So we've got to get our act together in the PCT as a world community. Francis Gurry has done a wonderful job with his team of laying out a roadmap for the PCT, and the USPTO is part of that. We support it and we're working to move along on that roadmap. The other aspect of work sharing that is also extremely important is the patent prosecution highway. And this is a set of bilateral agreements that many patent offices have with one another. The U.S. has, I think, perhaps as many as 14 of them now. I've signed off on a number of them so recently that it's kind of hard to keep the exact number straight. So we have quite a labyrinth of these agreements. Other patent offices have them also. And these PPH agreements stand for the proposition that offices can leverage the work that each other is doing. Since there's so many patent applications that are filed at multiple offices around the world, virtually identical work is being done many, many, many times over. We can use these patent prosecution highways so that once one office does a piece of work, all the other offices can benefit from it and leverage it and do their jobs more quickly. And then the last thing I'll say is that it turns out that the patent prosecution highway can play really nicely with the PCT. So these two important work-sharing vehicles actually cooperate and synergize with one another. We now have the USPTO, a pilot program running with the EPO, right, and the JPO, and we've offered to include other offices in the same kind of approach also, to enable any PCT application that's got international phase search and perhaps preliminary examination results to be entered into the patent prosecution highway. We believe that is a vehicle that can enable enormous work-sharing benefits to accrue to many offices.
Excellent. And you've been here at the General Assemblies having a series of bilateral meetings with different offices, I'm assuming, to work on these cooperation projects. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with other offices while you've been in Geneva?
Sure, yeah, happy to address that question. So had a wide range of bilateral meetings, of course discussed lots of topics. These patent prosecution highway agreements and further expanding and improving the patent prosecution highway has been high on the agenda since we're having really significant success with the patent prosecution highway. Now many thousands of applications traveling that highway. We believe at the USPTO that it's time to double down on the bet, if you will. We need more promotion of the PPH so that the world IP community understands it. We need more consolidation of the various bilateral agreements so that they look more similar, so that the user community can use the PPH more readily. And we've been working on those kinds of details in many meetings. We've also been having discussions about other important topics that we're very intent on advancing, including in the copyright area. A piece of work that's referred to as the visually impaired project, which involves ensuring that visually impaired people all over the world can get better access to copyrighted works, and we feel that that is an important piece of work, and so we've been having discussions aimed at trying to advance that project. And then I'll mention one other that is very important, which is that we have a relationship with 4 of the other major patent granting authorities, and WIPO involved as an observer and somewhat as an advisor also, and it's called the IP5, the Intellectual Property 5 offices. And those offices are the JPO and KIPO, the Korean Intellectual Property Office, and SIPO, the State Intellectual Property Office of China, and EPO and the USPTO. And so we've been having meetings with our IP5 partners and discussing collaboration among the IP5, including our 10 foundation projects that were kicked off now a couple of years ago, and are enabling the IP5 to do some really groundbreaking leadership work for the world intellectual property community, aimed at improving the quality of the patents that we grant, the access to search results, the collaboration between examiners, our classification systems. If you tear apart the patent process across the board, we're working on comprehensive projects and under the auspices of IP5 aimed at dramatically improving the patent system for the world. And so I think of the IP5 as a tremendously important grouping, and a grouping that is advancing collaboration, cooperation, and dare I even say harmonization between patent systems of the world.